Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to another Club 100 video. This time we're at Clay Pigeon for the fourth round of the championship. It's my third round of the season, and this is our first heat. It's heat 2 of the day. I've tried to make things a bit different this time, so instead of it featuring like the full heats, it's highlights of each heat and then the full final. So let me know in the comments if this is a better format or not. Either way, we're on the start finish line, so we're getting ready for our rolling start, trying to stick as close to the driver ahead as is possible. And you might have seen from the clip at the beginning, I did bin it into turn 1 at the start of practice, so I definitely didn't want to do that for the start of this. So we find a little bit of a spot on the middle into turn 1 where we're able to go around the outside of Mike Coppin, but now we've got everyone on our inside, so we're going to have to let them go through. Mike just flies past because he's rather quick, in case you didn't know. And there goes Ed Bars as well, who's also very fast. So we tried to tuck in behind Ed. That was my plan. Have a bit of a nudge with the guy on our outside. I think that's fine. I think that's in the grey area. But this was like my first laps. My excuse is that all of those around had like to use up their half an hour practice session beforehand. So I was, as usual, trying to get to grips with the circuit. It's my first time at Clay since 2018. Yes, I am going to use that excuse. As on lap 2, we dropped a position. I was able just to get down our inside. This car was lacking a fair bit on straights. You might be able to see it at some points as we go into the long right-hander. We get a decent exit, but not quite good enough. As someone sneaks up our inside, not quite sure who that is. Oh yeah, it's Dan Seeger. Dan had an absolutely crazy day. I think he finished 3rd overall come the end. So yeah, there we go. And he's, I guess, an example of speed. I think he gets a slightly better exit, but he just zooms off. Spoke to Dan after the race as well. But yeah, so lap 5, I think we moved to the outside, and Dan has a moment. Dan's fine. He puts his hand up at the end to be like, yeah, my mistake, but he ended up picking up a penalty for that, and I think I see it when I come through on the gantry, so I know that I don't need to get past Dan. I just need to stay within a couple of positions of him so that I'll get his position come the end of the race. And there's the penalty, so he's 53 or 63 as we head into turn 1. He goes a little bit wider, and I think, you know what, let me slide up his inside then into the chicane, and with that we move up a position. I think this heat I started in 8th. I think right now I'm running in 7th or something as we start lap 7. Dan just slots up our inside. That time around I tried to hold it on the outside so that I had the inside in the defensive line into turn 1, but Dan was already clear past me before turn 1 even came through as he tries to pull off into the distance. So coming to the end of lap 7, this is a 42.8, and again taking that wide line to try to be defensive, but again we get past, I think that's Bryn Evans, I think that's his name. I think Bryn also had a very good day, finishing top 3 in class 2, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But yeah, final lap of the race, coming into the final corner. So heat 2, I think someone's on my tail, so I'm trying to take a very defensive, oh no, I don't take a defensive line, so there you go, checker flags out. We ended up finishing this race in 8th, so 7th after Dan Seeger's penalty, which, to be honest, considering the car, considering it was our first heat of the day, I'll definitely take. And our next heats, I think I was starting, well, this heat right here, I'm starting in 10th, so I'm on the outside again. The final heat of the day, I'll be starting in pole, so that was the one where I really wanted to go for a win. So we've got, oh, actually, I think that's Tim Penny, a couple of rows in front and to the right. So here we go then for the start. There's a lot of loading. I think it's Daz Thiel who's starting on pole, and he's getting a nice bump. A lot of loading towards turn 1. As usual, we can't go on the inside, and Clay Pigeon's always difficult because you want to get to the inside. We got, I think that's Sam Slater on our inside, and again you can see all the bumping, practically 3 abreast. So we try to go around, but in the end we don't judge it right, and we end up going up onto the curb. Our own fault, really. Should have judged that one better. But yeah, I think we gained a place, I want to say. I think we've gained 1 position, so we're up into P9. So it's not a terrible start, especially considering that we are starting on the outside, which is the worst place to be at Clay, like hands down. It's just so difficult because you're on the outside for the first 2 corners and then on the outside for the chicane, so you just end up losing places like nobody's business. As midway on lap 2, someone runs wide through the right-hand hairpin, and then there's a whole lot of stuff happening up ahead. So we have a look down the inside, but in the end we decide to play it sensibly, which I think is probably the right decision to make. And I was feeling with this car, like, the front end just felt a little bit understeery into corners as someone sends us into the final corner. And I think it felt like the low end, the acceleration of the car wasn't there. I think the top end was fine, but the low end kind of accelerating out some of the low speed corners wasn't great. As we spot a gap and we decide to go for it very late on the move. I think that was fine. JV was saying in the briefing, you know, don't go double file into there. So if you see someone on your inside, you know, just yield. And if you're on the inside but not all the way up, don't be stupid. So I don't know if that was like far up enough, but whoever was on our outside decided to leave room. So we kept it nice and tidy. But we've managed to gain a few positions courtesy of other people's misfortunes on this lap. I think there was an incident with the guy in front of us and someone else. So coming then to start our fourth lap of the race, the times are, I want to say, getting a little bit better as onto the brakes we go. I kind of missed the apex into turn 1. You want to get all the way up onto the curb into that corner as we get sent up the inside, and we kind of knew someone was there, so we backed off. We get a decent exit and I have a think about going up the inside, but just not quite brave enough on the brakes and decide against it. Decide to slot behind and just trying to work my way up through the field, and again feeling that bit of understeer. I don't know why, I just felt that as JV would say, I felt like I ran out of talent today. It was really bizarre because usually when I go to a track you just feel good with the car, everything makes sense, but it's you can't explain it. It just didn't feel right. I just didn't feel at one with the car. I didn't feel like I was getting the track. And like usually, I don't know how to really explain it again, but you know, usually I go out on a track and I put in laps and I'm able just to do things and drive well and like go quick. But today I couldn't go quick. And it was other people doing to me what I'd usually do to them, like coming out of a corner and just being quicker. So, and it's not stuff that you can think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. It's stuff that I feel should just kind of come naturally to you. I think in the first heat I definitely had a bad kart, noticeably bad. I think in heat 3 and the finals, I think my kart was okay. I'm not sure though. Either way, like you get good karts, sometimes you get bad karts. I think at GYG I got some really good karts, so I was very lucky there. So now maybe this was my time to pick up a couple of the bad karts as we head down into the hairpin, and that is I think Steph running a little bit wide, so we just have to slot in behind. Final lap of the race, it was a chance to maybe gain a position. Again, I think the fastest lap times in these races are like low 41s, and we were lapping in mid 42s. I think our fastest time this race was probably like a 42.1 or something. So yeah, it wasn't great. So this race, again, we finished 7th. It was 8th on track, but Steph picked up a penalty for something, so we ended up jumping up into 7th. So here is heat 3. And as you can see, I do a bit of a boo-boo, and I completely bottle it. And the guy starting in second gives me a nice little applaud. So I completely bottled that like a right dumbass. So yeah, that really filled me with a lot of confidence to start this race. To be honest, after the first 2 heats, I still want to win. I still want to get like my first Club 100 heat win, but I wasn't feeling great with the track, and this kart did feel decent on the outlap. Not as good as the A final kart felt, but decent nonetheless. So here we go. I get a lot of loading, like you can see my throttle, I'm on and off, but I'm just getting pushed and accelerating nonetheless. We go green, so foot flat down. The guy in second gets a much better run than us, but we have the inside. So down the inside we go, we reclaim the lead. And now it's just about getting our head down and trying to drive off into Sunset Boulevard, which, spoilers, I don't, because here on lap 3, I'm guessing someone goes down my inside into turn 1, And there they go. Who is that? That is Unknown Man with blue and white suit and neck brace. Not a lot of people have neck braces, so if you do see someone with a neck brace, you can kind of identify them to some degree. As we head into the hairpin, again, it's not a terrible run, but the guy in front is just pulling from us, just driving better. They have a bit of a slide into that corner, but I think we have an understeer, bit of an understeer moment mid-corner, so we can't gain on them. Starting lap 4, I'm guessing someone else sends me down the inside. That looks like Dan Seeger from the suit. Yes, it is indeed Dan. We get a decent run coming through the chicane, but not quite enough, and I think that back end just kind of slid out a little bit on corner exit. And now on lap 6, again, someone's on my inside, and that's another position gone. It's Mr. Sam Essery flying up into P3. Sam, decent driver actually. I think he's doing fairly well in the championship in C2. I think he's top 5 right now, so he's having a cracking job so far. As we start at lap 9, down my inside goes someone, and well, I can't hold on to the position. So yeah, I try to take it defensive, which is outside of 1 so that you're on the inside for 2. But I couldn't make it work, and he goes defensive down into the hairpin, so no way through. We try to get a good exit, which we do, but then he just kind of shoots off. So maybe he got onto the power a little bit earlier by letting the kart out. And to be honest, I was just hoping that maybe he'd make a mistake, maybe I could get back through, because I think at this point I'm in P5? I think I'm in P5, I'm not too sure. But either way, we've got some decent slipstream. Final lap of the race, we close in, we have a look to the outside. To be honest, I'm lucky, because if I'd gone a little bit later on the brakes, I would have ended up taking him out, as Reese Pope ends up sending me, and a bit of an embarrassing way to lose a position. So that's a shame. I think if I'd been a lot braver on the brakes, I could have taken the position, but at least I didn't get an ABC takeout. I think it's called an ABC. But so far, compared to the likes of Wilton, compared to GYG, this has just been a terrible, terrible day, and I don't really know what else to say, because yeah, it's just not what I'm used to in Club 100. Like, compared to the endurance rounds I had last year, compared to GYG and Wilton earlier this season, this was just, yeah. I think I was just finding it really difficult to learn Clay, so there we go. But anyway then, here we go, the A final, and this one is a full video, so no highlights. You get every single lap. There was a lot of action. We were starting 23rd for this race, so we got, I think, 3 7ths or 2 7ths and a 6th in our individual heats, which was just enough to start in the A final, right at the back of the A final. So coming through the final corner, we've warmed up our tyres. This car did feel good on the few laps of practice that I got, so I was just thinking, look, I'm starting practically at the back. The only way is Essex. I mean, the only way is up. So here we go. Let's see what we can do. We're starting on the inside for the first time. I don't really class the pole stars on the inside because you're at the front anyway, and everyone slows down. In the front left is Fraser Brunton, and he just flew through the order. Fraser ended up finishing 2nd. How Fraser managed that, I don't actually know. The man was on an absolute mission today. He goes round the outside of everyone here. We try to sneak up the inside of Steph, which we do somewhat successfully. Mr. Intrepid Kart Suit guy is ahead of us, who I think he was the guy who was locking up his rears a lot in one of the previous heats, but we try to slide our nose up the inside, which we can't quite do. So we just look to try to get a good exit out of the final corner, which, well, we don't really do. We're catching up a little bit on the straight, not a huge amount though. Onto the brakes then into turn 1. Again, slightly missing the apex. Bit of a moment with some of the guys up ahead, so we got up the inside of 1. Can't quite get the 2nd. So yeah, well, we just have to slot into our position and take a nice defensive line into the hairpin. Amy Breach ends up running a bit wide, and I think, you know what, maybe that's an opportunity for me to get in. Intrepid's on the outside, he's not going to get any traction. He's going to slide out wide, and we kind of go up a position. I did feel like, I think maybe if you're just off the racing line, there's just no grip, and it's almost a bit like a sim game to that extent, like when you're on R Factor 2 or something like that, where, yeah, it just, I don't know where I was losing time, as we get actually a pretty nice move on Amy Breacher. We go up a position. We end up running a bit wide, so Intrepid gets us, as does another person. Yeah, so I get 1, I lose 2. Stupid move, really stupid in hindsight. At the start, I saw that, I was like, oh, look at that, that's a nice send up the inside. And then I ran wide and thought, if you run wide through turn 2 at Clay, you're going to get sent into 3, and the chicane is just bound to happen. So, yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. And honestly, this entire day was just kind of reflecting. I think in Heat 3 or Heat 2, I was literally shouting at myself in the helmet, just telling myself that I was an idiot. As I was genuinely desperately trying to figure out how to go quicker, but I just couldn't do it, because usually if I want to go faster, you just relax and just drive, but I just couldn't do that here. It was so bizarre. So I was just trying to do the best that I could, but the best that I could wasn't very good so far. We give Intrepid a push, so he goes up the inside of the other guy, and we try to follow him through. Have to be careful that he doesn't come across and wipe us out, and someone follows through. So yeah, it's to be honest, the A finals, this was really fun. Like, even though I'm losing positions, I was having a lot of fun in this battle, because it's chaos. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and you just battle with everyone wherever you can. I'm very lucky there not to have spun the guy out. We get the position, so I'll take that. A bit of a slide into the chicane, not good. I was finding it very easy for the rear end to become slidey, which is not something that I experience a lot in these karts. I think what I kind of think it might be is, I think at Clay you've got a lot of mid-high speed corners. So you think about turns 1, you think about this chicane, you think about this final corner, the horseshoe. They're all fairly quick corners, whereas most of the other tracks, like the tracks I'm good at, for example, like Wilton and stuff like that, they're all much lower speed corner. Like you think about even Christmas, it's a fairly heavy braking zone and lowish speed, whereas here it's about kind of finding the grip in the middle of a corner, and maybe that's what I'm just really bad at. So I don't know, that guy really locked up his rear end there, like what the hell. Because usually in TKMs I do what that guy did, but in Rotaxes I've tried to be a lot smoother, and I never saw like the top guys like Mike or Ed Bars locking up when I was behind them in that first heat. So I decided I don't want to lock up my rears. Like, it might look cool, but I don't think it's quicker, just because it's a bit less smooth. So starting lap 7, this is another 42 lap time, which I'm guessing means we've got a battle coming up, and we're just dropping back from those ahead of us. It seems like our karts, or I don't think this is a kart issue. I just want to blame the kart so I don't have to blame myself, and can ignore all responsibility to how bad I am at driving. I just think that I'm quick enough to be able to battle with people, but I'm not quick enough to be able to catch people, as I try to hold it around the outside like an absolute moron. So obviously I'm going to lose a position, Milky dumbass. Yeah, sorry. Have to get some self-hating so that I actually learn a lesson from my stupidity sometimes. But we're almost halfway into this race, and someone goes wide, so that means that we get to go up the inside into the chicane. Job done. We are up a place, and now we can try to catch up to whoever it is in front of us, and then it is Hussein Rashid just up ahead, who actually could have started in 5th if he didn't get a 6th place penalty in one of the heats. So unfortunate for him, because he could have been much higher up the order. We're kind of sticking with them somewhat, but yeah, just not quite there, as someone goes up our inside, and that's the guy who had a mistake earlier. He doesn't get the best of exits though, and that means that we're able to come back on him somewhat, but we're on the outside. It means we've got to go the longer distance, so we can't go up the inside into turn 1. Again, he has that little lock-up on his rear tyre, so not great for him. As we head back onto, I guess this is the back straight, into the hairpin. Again, his rear is really locking up. And you can see, despite him locking up his rears, despite him braking harder, I catch up to him a lot in the braking zone, more than how much I should catch up from like the Constantina effect. So I don't think locking up is the smart decision. Looking back at this footage now, but yeah, there you go. What's this lap? Another 42.2. I'm not getting into those 41s, am I? I do eventually get a 41. I think my fastest time is a 41.6 or a 41.7. I'm not sure. It'll appear purple on the top left because I edited all of this down and then I do the voiceover after. So I do know that I got a couple of 41s at some point. But right now is just trying to sit behind these guys. I don't take a very wide entry, so I think there's someone behind me and I'm trying to defend while keeping up with these guys in front of me. And yeah, I think I only really catch up if those guys battle. The final corner I couldn't get right. I couldn't work out where to take the apex. Like, I think the line I took that time round was a relatively decent line, but I just always felt like I was struggling for grippers. Ooh, he touches the cone. Touches Colin the cone, but he doesn't knock it over, so he should get away with that without getting a penalty. As we head into the hairpin once again. So this lap's a 41. Ooh, I think I missed the apex there. I think you should hold it a bit tighter through that hairpin, because I let it out a bit too early. Again, I missed the first apex. You're not supposed to get the second apex anyway. Let's see how I take this final corner, actually. You know what? That looked alright. That did look alright. Let's see if our next lap is any quicker, though. So another 41.8. So at least we're being consistently putting in these times. Again, kind of missing that apex somewhat. You need to get right up onto that curb through turn 1. That chicane I was really struggling with. A little lift midway through the chicane because I was losing the rear. So I think this lap, and again, I feel like there's another 4/10 in this lap, just from my driving. Ooh, what was that? That was a bit of contact between those two. Let's see our final corner. You know what? I think that's all right, and we're getting a nice bit of toe as well, all the way down the straight. This is another 42. That's much better on the apex, but I don't really have anywhere to go. These two are going to battle, which leaves me not much room. We lose a lot of time. Someone might end up going up my inside now as well. I think so. That's why I'm trying to brake really late. Hold it around the outside. Yeah, someone is there. So now I push Hussein so that we can both defend from Amy Breacher, because I need to follow through. I think Amy might still be on my inside. No, I think she's tucked in behind me. So heading into the final corner, we hold on to whatever position, whatever dignity we have left. We get a pretty good run, not going to lie. I don't go for the move on Hussein. I just decide to push him forward, work with him, because I want to catch up to those two who are just a little bit further ahead. Oh, rear end slides. I don't get onto the power quite right. We head into the chicane once again. And again, going to give Hussein a little bit of a push. He's going to defend from me because it's a sprint. I brake very early into this corner, which means I get to take a much tighter line, and you can see how much I gain on exit, and then Hussein kind of pulls away. Again, defensive line into the horseshoe because Amy Breacher is right on my hiney. Little shake of the head from Hussein, so he's clearly not happy with how he's been driving on this lap, thinks he's made a mistake, as I definitely make a mistake in that corner, but somehow I get a better exit, so maybe that's how I should have been taking that corner the entire time. I don't know. Ooh, we get a pretty good run into turns 2 and 3. So we move up a position, and I think the rear end went a little bit slidey on me. But this is only a 42.0, and turn 1 looked really good, so I think I didn't hold it tight for long enough, so yeah, I don't know. If there's anyone actually good watching, let me know where I'm going wrong, because I genuinely can't work it out. I think I'm just being too greedy on the power. I genuinely think that's what it is. I think I'm just trying to carry too much corner speed and like losing out massively because of it. Because yeah, either way, we're clear, and then I decide to make a mistake. I decide to go wide. Yay, I'm really smart, and that means that Amy goes up my inside. And I try to get the switch back. I end up making a bit of contact, and this is where the fun happens, because well, you'll see. I got a bit of a shunt from behind from Hussein, so Hussein's telling me to go, but Sam's already got past me, so Hussein's now lost 2 places as a result, so I think he just misjudged the braking, sadly, and then, gave the positions back so he didn't pick up a penalty, but it's meant that I'm not on the rear end of Amy, and with 2 laps to go, I'm not catching that gap up, so it's a shame. So this is my fastest lap of the race. So let's take a look then. So turn 1. Yeah, okay, turn 1's pretty good. What about turn 2? Again, pretty clean through 2. I'm matching Sam Essery here. I think maybe I could have held it a bit tighter through that. I don't know if I'm supposed to hold it tight or let it out. Through here, wow, Sam just rockets out of that corner. He lost the back end as well through that, so maybe I should have just been on the power earlier. And then final corner, I feel like I missed the apex completely. How this is my best lap, I don't know, but there you go. Anyway, on to the final lap of the race. This one is a 42.3, so let's see how this is. Because maybe I'm just not getting onto the power early enough, because that felt like the right line through the corner. I don't know, I'm just watching this and it just feels wrong. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry for anyone who tuned into this expecting, you know, some high quality driving like you saw in Wilton and GYG. Apart from where I almost killed Greg Smith, that wasn't high quality. But yeah, it's sadly not the case. Thankfully though, our next races I go defensive because Hussein is all over my rear end at this point, or Hussein or someone else. So I'm just trying to defend the position. So yeah, that's been this race here at Clay Pigeon. It's not been great, but yeah, I give a little fist bump to whoever that is. Thankfully, the next race is at Bayford Meadows, and Bayford Meadows is a really good track. I qualified second for the endurance there last year, so it's a track I know I'm quick at. It's a track I'm comfortable at. So hopefully we can do well, and we can, you know, finally win what feels at this moment like an elusive race heat. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Leave a like and subscribe, all of that nonsense. And until next time, stay milky, and assalamu alaikum.